Hey everyone, I'm Josh Olson. This is my YouTube channel, A Conversation With. Today we have a special guest. She is a public speaker. She's an author. She has her own podcast. She has a book and a journal out. She's a business humorist and she's a consultant. Today I have a conversation with Lisa David Olson. Lisa, how are you?
Good, Josh Olson.
How is the weather up north? I know you're on the border of Wisconsin and Minnesota, correct?
That is the truth. Today is kind of nice. It's 52. In the spring, when you live in Minnesota in the spring, you always know the temperature.
Oh, that's great. And I just want to start off by congratulating you. I know you were selected to do a TED Talk in April. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you. It's a very exciting work. It's a lot of prep. I didn't know that.
And do you know who is there other speakers that speak with you?
Yes, there will be 8 of us for the TEDx Bloomington in Indiana, April 17th.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so cool. And how did you get started in public speaking?
Actually, I had a very dark kind of childhood with an alcoholic mother. And the way the story goes, the way my life is, it was an escape to have humor. So I say that humor saved my life because, I came close to the edge on different things. I will absolutely be talking about it in my TED Talk, but it's really about how humor is an escape. And you look at any kind of stand-up comic, a made-up stat would be 87% of stand-up comics come from a traumatic background or suffer depression. Because when you get on the stage, you don't have to be you. And you can make people laugh, and then you're accepted. And then they like you. So that's a lot of how I got into comedy. So I ran and owned a comedy troupe with sketch comedy and improvisation. From there, speaking was right along with it for 20 years.
In La Crosse, Wisconsin, is that correct?
Mostly in La Crosse, yes.
Awesome. And then did public speaking, did that lead into you're an improviser? Did that lead into that? Is that something that did you have to learn that, or is it just come with it when you learn public speaking?
I auditioned for a comedy troupe back in 99 or 2000, got into the troupe, and we would write sketch comedy. So sketch parodies, similar to if you ever saw the Carol Burnett show, although you're too young, unless you ever saw the reruns, but look at Saturday Night Live, how they do the sketches. And then we would do improvisation in between. So we might do a sketch about the potholes in town. So it was always parody to play on our town, or the extra ramp that everybody's just so mad that the parking ramp is blocking the view of the river, things that are controversial. And we might make a musical out of things like the new bridge that was being built. And so in between, we would do improvisation and ask the audience for ideas, create a sketch right there. And it was along that journey that I started to speak along that time frame. And so I do use my improv skills in speaking. And now in my business of consulting and creativity, there's so much that carries over from improvisation, such as you're listening in your scene, having your partner's back, trusting your partner, building a cohesive team, being approachable. All these things that I learned in 20 years of performing definitely carries over into work relationships and even personal relationships.
And you go through your book, Laughs on Rye, that basically goes through your childhood and tells people about everything that's happened, because you have an interesting story.
Right. The dark childhood stuff of mom being an alcoholic and physically abusing myself and my 3 siblings. But the way I tell it also shares my love of pranks. It shares the part about my mother being one of my biggest fans. The up and down relationship of when I would have to do boundaries and just, not be with her. I left home at 17. So I left home at 17. I was in 10th grade and I left school and home and everything. And that was my coping mechanism.
So did you drop out of school, or did you eventually go back?
Yes, I did. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's awesome. And then you have a journal too, right? Is that kind of the journal that you have? I
created a journal that includes creative tips that if you were, just wondering what to do, maybe you're stuck, you've got writer's block. So you just can flip it open and dare yourself to sing in public. Extra credit if you're at the grocery store. That's my dare to you, Josh.
I will
Um,
definitely try that.
so you might, or you're going to. You're not
I'll,
telling me you wouldn't do a dare, are you?
well, I would try.
Oh, that's a good answer. So it has different things, like if you, let's pretend you were stuck with an idea, move where you're at. Like, this is my home office, that's your podcast office, and you want to really spark your brain with some new ideas. Move your stuff and work on your show prep in a different room. Maybe it's the living room where the sun's coming in nicer, or it's a beanbag chair in somebody else's area. That's why people go to coffee shops a lot of time, to block out all the noise. Makes you work in a different way. It's so bizarre. I miss that.
And are you like talking about now? Are you close with your mother? Maybe are you guys on speaking terms, or how is that relationship now? Or
No, I actually saved her life right during Y2K. And I don't say that lightly. It's just the short version of a very dark story, but she was definitely non-able to move because of her drinking. She was stuck on a floor, and I happened to find her in her apartment, and I called an ambulance, and they gave her IVs right there in the parking lot in the ambulance. And from that day in Y2K, being in her hospital room, worrying about the world. And what were you, 2 years old?
and what
2000?
2000, I was 12.
Okay, so you kind of remember Y2K, like, our VCR might blink different numbers. We can't reset it.
Yeah, I
Or I
remember.
might miss my, whatever games that you had. That was just a scary time where people were buying up produce in cans and water in the basement, like storing all the water, like the toilet paper thing of 2020.
Yeah.
I had that going on, and my mother was dying before my eyes. But she never drank after that. She did survive that, and she lived another 14 years. She died in 2014. I did get to see her and say goodbye. And yeah, so it's always been up and down, even those years when she quit drinking, and she could talk about it. We ended up talking about her regrets and what she might have done better, but we also talked about the good stuff and her sense of humor.
Mm-hmm. That's great. That's good that she was a fan, you could say, right?
Yes, that's true. Yes.
That's awesome. And your siblings, you still keep in contact with everybody else?
I do not. No, I am very much only in touch with my one brother, and I have an older sister, an older brother, and a younger brother. So I'm only in touch with my older brother. Again, boundaries are huge to me, and it just, not everything works. And I don't allow people around me that don't bring me joy. And if I couldn't call you in the night and say I need something, then that's not really who I can be that way for. So my children are in my life, my ex-husbands are in my life, my father's in my life, but very guarded. He did not like that I put out a book about the story. He's in his 80s. He's like, the past is the past. He did this with his hand. He did. And he's like, why would you share your story? In that time, you didn't share the story. I was being physically abused and screaming, and the neighbors called the police. Even the police didn't help. They were like, okay, is everything okay? Okay, that's great. In today's world, it wouldn't be like that anymore. And that's part of the reason why my book, Any Sales, a portion of that sale goes to the Family and Children's Center in La Crosse, Wisconsin, because they do have programs that support families and help them understand this is what a family is. And if you need help, reach out. Back in the 70s, 80s, you didn't get into people's business like you can now. And I'm very grateful of teachers that will say, oh, looks like she's not eating. Is everything okay? People are checking on people better now.
That's great. And your dad, you said it's guarded, but is he involved in your life now? Like, do you go visit him on a regular basis? You talk to him?
Yep. He and my stepmom are in my same city in La Crescent, Minnesota. And during this time, we're still cautious about being physically close, but we are in touch, and they're doing really well. And like I say, he just didn't think I needed to share my story.
What made you say that, I want to write a book? I want to share, like, because most people would be like, oh, I don't think I want to share something like that. But what made you do that?
Great question, Josh. It's the fact that I told myself for so many years I didn't have all these college degrees, and why would anybody want my story? Yet I am a writer, and I've always wanted to share my story to be able to say to you, no, I didn't graduate high school in the normal way, that I left in 10th grade. I wouldn't share that until my book came out in 2018. So it was a dare to myself, really, which is how I live my life. Mm-hmm. And I feel like you only get this. It's not a feeling. You only get one spin on this round rock. Or if you believe it's flat, that's cool. And okay. You might as well do all the things. So what if a book on a shelf is found in 80 years when I'm no longer here? And it's like a piece of me is still out there somewhere, in a sense. What I didn't expect is that other people would come to me and share their stories of growing up traumatic childhood. There was a gentleman that came to my first book signing, and he had tears in his eyes and told me I was brave. And it's to this day means the world to me to be told that sharing my story made it okay for him to share his.
Yeah, you inspire a lot of people with the book. I can see.
Yeah, thank you. That's what means a lot to me. And I still go on with speaking and connecting, and my TEDx does not just dwell on that part of my book, but it's definitely my opening. Mm-hmm. And it's more about the connection of humor and how we connect through humor, no matter our age, ethnicity, language barriers. It doesn't matter. If we are together in public and something funny happens just right there on the sidewalk, some guy comes by with a dog in a cute outfit and he starts juggling, we're going to be engaged. We're going to look at that. We're going to find it funny and amazing. And it's going to raise our endorphins and lower our blood pressure and release nature's antidepressant, which is, our own serotonin. So I always say the health of humor is affordable healthcare, because you get all that. And then you go on to your next thing. Let's say you went to Starbucks, you're full of joy. Mm-hmm. And that goes to that worker at Starbucks. You can feel someone's energy. So it's this great ripple effect of happy.
And you have a section in your book. It's pictures. It's Project and Bravery, I think you called it.
Yes. Boy, you did some homework. Yeah. It was myself. Again, we were, it was just another dare to myself. I saw these two girls that had, not girls, but young ladies that had just gotten ice cream downtown. And it was, you can't be really sad if you're eating ice cream outside and it's a nice day. And they were taking some selfies by the wall and laughing. And I just, even though I'm an extrovert for the most part, I was nervous, but I said to myself, I'm going to dare myself to see if I can get a selfie with them because it's ridiculous. And they were having fun and I wanted in on it. Like I say, we're attracted to humor. So I said, hey, can we get a selfie? And the one girl said, yeah, like, are you an influencer? And I was like, I don't know what that is. I did not know at that time. So then as we were about to take the picture, I was like, you know what? Let's be serious. And I don't know why that came to me, but that's how weird I am. And so it was my very first serious selfie with strangers. And here's the girls. Okay. And it's so funny because you cannot be mad eating ice cream, but there they were. And the crazy story that came out of that was that when my book came out, one of the girls' moms actually knew me and got a hold of me and said, you know what, that picture that you have in your book, that's my daughter. And I was like, oh my gosh. So we all went out for a coffee. We hung out. We went shopping. We were singing ABBA songs and being really goofy. We had a whole afternoon together because I dared myself to just engage with a stranger. And it turned out we're still friends. And I have a lot of stories like that just from this Project and Bravery. Accidental relationships.
Are you still like that today? You go out and talk to strangers, like make conversation with everybody?
Not everybody. I'm not always in that mood, honestly. And with COVID, you don't want to be close to anybody. But I do work with the public. I have a full-time job and I'm in the public. I have no qualms about talking with people. I think the main thing that I do that's different, and I would invite you to do the same, like when I'm at the store and I'm checking out and the worker generally will say, how are you doing? Mm-hmm. You say, what do we say, Josh?
Say great.
And then you say to me, how are you doing? I'm like, good. And really, that's not even communicating. It's almost like we could just go, yeah. And we could just grunt back and forth. So what I've started to do, when I'm checking out, I say, what are you doing for fun? So I have learned one person at the checkout, her fun was that she could still do dance class at college, even though they have to be masked and distanced. Another clerk that is a big guy with dreadlocks and tie-dye shirt, his joy right now is that they are fostering kittens. And to see him just go, I got these little kittens at home, and to share their stories.
Yeah.
And you connect in a much different way. One lady had joy because she had just cleared out her basement and she felt so empowered because she was clearing out her house, and it became this other conversation. So it's just a different way to connect where you're not just doing that basic, how are you? Good. How are you? Good. You know, you don't always want to engage, and I get that. But to me, it makes it a little bit of fun. It breaks up their day a little bit. And I know that I left something in my wake that was an actual interaction, and they got to share about themselves.
That's awesome. So besides the project and bravery, what are some other ways that you help people maybe get unstuck from their daily routines, I guess you could say?
Yeah, as a business humorist, I have people that we do Zoom calls or phone calls, or we will meet up again. And I use my 20 years of performing and creative thinking and improv skills to work on businesses. My recent client was a podcaster looking for a different way to brand because he wasn't really getting the right audience. And so we were fine tuning his message and really working on who is his audience, because your audience is not everyone. You know,
True.
It's like being on radio. I used to do radio, and it's, hey, out there in radio land. No, you got to picture your best friend or somebody that you're going to share a story with. If it's your partner or whoever, you talk to that person. You're just like, you know what? When I was trying to park today at the store and it all of a sudden started raining, I couldn't believe it. That's the way. So who is that person to you, and who is that? You know, so that's the kind of work we do. Or a friend of mine trying to launch her book during a pandemic, when normally you would do, let's meet for a glass of wine and get buzzed and buy a bunch of books. But you can't right now. So how can we be creative and safe and respectful of people's distances? And we did that too. We had a really good book launch.
So you mentioned COVID. How has COVID affected or not affected your business or your projects?
I work full-time in a police department, and I've not missed work except for when I had COVID in December. We still work in the public, and just very carefully for myself as an admin person and the records person, I do local dispatch. So I don't have to be out in the field, but I am helping people out in our back parking lot because we don't let them in right now unless they're arrested. So it's affected me that way. But regarding my speaking business, obviously I had things canceled, postponed indefinitely, and that sort of thing. But as far as the other things I've picked up, how to be interactive on Zoom, because I am an interactive speaker. I want the audience to answer things with me, and I have games I like to play and everything like that. So I've become creative. I had to be my own client, and it's, we're coming through. We're all adjusting and learning that people can be trusted working from home or doing other things.
Yeah.
There's been some benefits. If we all sat down to make a list of the benefits, we would have a nice list of positive benefits from this reset that we've all had.
Yeah, just for both the employer and the employees, there's benefits for both of them.
That's right.
And you also have a podcast. I think you look for people that have weird stories or.
Yes, I do. I have, what I say is it's weird stories and quirky careers, strange hobbies. I want you, from the guy who carries around a 40-pound wooden troll with him everywhere he goes. What? He's jumped out of a plane with him. He's climbed a mountain with him, and people want selfies with this troll. And the guy has this great story, and that's Jeej and Ahab. And so it's kind of like a ship theme. He's great. And I had a guy who was a monk, and I asked, things like, what made him start? What made him quit? Is he married? I got to ask all those things. And I've just had a lady that reads hands, not palm reading, but the actual prints, not going, oh, you have a long lifeline. Oh, wow. No, it was reading your actual fingerprints. And she can do it over Zoom. I had another lady that's a dog whisperer, and she told me things about my dog that she couldn't have known. Just through Zoom, she could do that. There's another gal that does Reiki through Zoom. So yeah, send me your weirdos. I love it. And when I say weird, I'm celebrating that. I love the uniqueness of our stories, and we always find something in common. Just interviewed a guy today. I haven't posted it yet, but he's a importer with wines.
Oh, okay.
And I learned, instead of asking all about the import business, I wanted to understand how you breathe in a wine. I'm not a wine person, but you breathe in the wine and you taste the wine and then they spit it out. So we talked a lot about spitting.
Oh,
Not
wow.
importing, but spitting out wine. That's what
awesome.
I do.
That's great. And what made you start did you start the podcast recently, or have you been doing it for a while?
I think it was about a year ago, but I took last summer off. We had 2 deaths close to us, actually, and I couldn't possibly do anything like this. So I did take time off, and my therapist said, don't do it till you feel it. And it was almost like she gave me permission to just refuel. So it was, I've been doing it, I don't have that many episodes. I think only going on 40. So on and off for about a year.
That's great. That's more than me.
Well, this is how we get there.
Yeah, this is how we get there. And where can people find your podcast?
It is on iTunes, and I don't know. Just go to I don't even look. I'm posted on Spreaker, but I think it's on iTunes, and so is my comedy album of all telemarketer calls. So on iTunes, just go to Stranger Connections. Also add in with Lisa David Olson, and you're bound to find it.
Okay, it'll be definitely be in the description. And then both the book and the journal are available on Amazon.
The journal's just through me. I decided to print locally because it's a spiral bound, and I just wanted to keep things local during that time. So yeah, just reach out to me on Facebook Messenger, and also on Facebook. I invite your listeners to join me on my comedy website or comedy Facebook page, which is Counterclockwise, and it's all humor. So you need humor before bed, not the news. You scroll through Counterclockwise, join us, and there's no politics. There's no jabbing each other, just all it's mostly just sharing memes and making dumb puns, which are dumb in the best way.
That's awesome. So all those will be available in the description. And then you have lisadavidolson.com.
That's right.
And if they want to reach out and connect to you, everything's available there.
Everything should be there. And join me on my Facebook page. I'm going to be keeping the information about the TEDx in April. If anybody's interested in the live stream, there'll be tickets for that.
That'll be great. About the TEDx. That'll be cool.
Thank you. I am too. It's a lot of work, and it's good work. It's good to make your brain think in different ways. I love it. Absolutely. I'm very honored.
Thank you so much for taking the time, Lisa. I really do appreciate your time.
Thank you, Josh. I really appreciate it too. And thanks for having me.
All right. Have a great rest of your night.
You too.
Thank you all for watching today. Did you enjoy this conversation? Let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button below to be notified of all my conversations. See you again soon.